Well, this week, gas prices hit a new high since the start of the war with Iran, raising the average to $4.23 a gallon nationwide on Wednesday. That, according to AAA. Gas prices in the Seattle area are breaking records, and with tensions in the Middle East driving oil prices up, concern is growing this surge may not be over. The milestone comes as oil prices have surged higher over the past week amid a dual blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by the U.S. and Iran. Glad you're with us today. I'm Greg Copeland. As drivers grapple with the record-breaking prices, some lawmakers are calling on Governor Bob Ferguson to provide short-term relief by temporarily lifting the gas tax. But when asked about a possible tax holiday, Ferguson said concerns should be directed toward the president.
Any possibility or conversations about repealing the gas tax temporarily to just ease the pain that consumers are paying?
Look, I mean, the pain's coming from Donald Trump in this outrageous war in the Middle East that seems to have no end. And so if people are concerned about the gas prices, they should call up Donald Trump and tell him, hey, end that war and get our gas prices under control. So that's our focus right now.
So Washington carries the third highest gas tax in the country, and that burden is set to grow. A 2% increase is scheduled to take effect in July, with the same annual increase to follow each year. To help us understand why a gas tax holiday is not in Washington's future, King 5 sat down with former state senator Reuven Carlyle.
The Strait of Hormuz remains closed with blockades by both Iran and the United States. And this morning, the world benchmark for oil climbed above $125 a barrel before falling back to about $115 a barrel, the cost marking the highest price for oil in 4 years. And we know that the situation here in Washington is not great. Just yesterday, we took you to a gas station here in Seattle where drivers were filling up for $6.29 a gallon. Many other gas stations in the Seattle metro area are also around $6 a gallon. Joining us now, former state senator and King 5 political analyst Reuven Carlyle. Thanks for being here.
Of course, thank you.
Oh my gosh. So when we talk about gas prices, don't cringe. State Democrats, they're blaming the Trump administration. Republicans are blaming the gas tax. Is there some truth on both sides, or are both sort of problematic for us here in Washington?
Everything's a contributor to that. There's no question about it. I mean, if you look at the statewide average now of about $5.50 some cents, about half of that is the price of the crude oil and the refinery process. But there's also about an 88-cent jump in the overall price of that gasoline because of the war in Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. So direct implications. So there's truth to that. And we have the third highest gas tax in the nation. So of course there's a contribution to that as well.
So when you consider the tax, and for Washington, as you said, we have one of the highest in the nation, what part of that is directly tied to the state sales tax in terms of what we're paying overall for gas?
Yeah, we pay about $4 billion a year in state gas tax, and there's a couple $100 million of additional fees. And if you add up all the state and the federal taxes and all of the fees associated with gasoline, it's about 20% of the cost of gasoline. But that really is in line with the cost of production and the cost of distribution. So it's a unique time right now where the taxes feel like they're disproportionate, but they really have been hit by this war in Iran.
Okay, in real layman's terms.
Yeah.
I spent $106 to fill up my tank. I had to get premium gas, but I've never paid that much ever to fill up my gas tank. So what portion of that $106 is the gas tax?
The gas tax, like I said, all of the taxes combined.
Is it 20%?
Federal, about 20%. That's right.
What?
That's right. That's
We're
right. But
paying
that's around the same percentage of this new surcharge because of the war. So it's about equal in that ballpark. So it's a really tough time. And we all know the implications on affordability for real people is really tough. And of course, we know it's not just gasoline, it's housing and healthcare and education.
Supporters say it pays for lots of things, the tax. It pays for roads, bridges, ferries. Is that justification enough for families who are struggling, to your point, with affordability?
People are struggling. There's no question about that. At the same time, you have to look at the investments of those dollars that are paid by the gas tax. It is not just roads and bridges, and it's new ferries, and there's salmon restoration. There's a whole bunch of transit benefits, and part of the challenge is that they have a lot of bonds within the gasoline tax, the transportation budget, and so that's what pays for all this construction. And if we don't maintain our roads and our bridges and our highways, The average consumer faces about $700 a year in increased maintenance of their cars because they have potholes and they have more accidents and chips on their
Been there.
Exactly. So there's a real cost to not maintaining your roads, and that's the reason that transportation, gasoline taxes included, are usually a very bipartisan part of state government, and the budget passes with bipartisan votes.
Right. Do you think that we are in our state overburdened by the tax or not?
It's the third highest in the nation.
Do you think it's too high?
I think the rent's too high. I think education's too high. I think housing's too high. And I think gasoline prices are really hitting people right now. So everyone knows how serious it is. The real challenge is if you lowered it, there is absolutely no question that not all of that passes through to the consumer. So it's not necessarily a fair deal either way.
So even if it was lowered, we wouldn't necessarily feel meaningful relief from it being lowered.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
There was a really substantive study done that showed that about 60 cents on the dollar, if you do a temporary gas tax relief, gets passed on to the consumer. So about 40% of it doesn't. So again, real cost to the public in terms of maintenance and operations, but doesn't necessarily get passed on to the consumer.
Okay, last question. We asked the governor this week about the gas tax. He pointed the blame for the pain people are feeling at the Trump administration. Is there anything that Washington lawmakers can do to help?
There's very little that we can do at the state level. And the fact is only 3 states in the nation have done a temporary change in their gas tax, and that temporary change is pretty modest. And so states around the country, bipartisan, red, blue, independents, are not moving in that direction. So it's a very tough time. And you could see a massive continuation of the spike in gasoline prices because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It's not settled.
So I was just thinking, we're not going to see relief in the near future.
That's
we
right.
don't really know when we might, and it might keep getting worse, to your point.
It might get worse.
Reuben Carlisle, always great to have you here.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Thanks.
Washington's gas prices are the 3rd highest in the nation, just behind Hawaii and California. And that has driven more people there to public transportation. Michael Rosales has the story.
I just got a monthly bus pass.
It's easy. It's only $2 and it's way cheaper than gas, with gas being so expensive right now.
Monterey Salinas Transit says as gas prices are going up, so is the amount of people taking the bus. MST says normally they see a 3% increase in passengers this time of year, but this year they're seeing a 12.7% increase.
It's a safe and affordable alternative to pouring money into your gas tank. You can perhaps keep that money in the bank.
MST's CEO Carl Sidoric says historically the cost of fuel hasn't influenced people to use the bus, but says this time it's different.
Maybe combined with the recent rises in food prices, rent, and just the basic cost of living have gone up so much, I'm thinking that perhaps we've reached a tipping point with the high price of fuel.
Riders I spoke with say if you're willing to allow a little extra travel time, it's worth it.
And where do you usually commute to and from?
From Seaside out here, like every day almost, and then to work and back to the house. If you're a student, it's free, and but if you're not, it's only $2 to get back and forth. It's way cheaper.
Figured I'd, save by using public transportation and buying the electric bike. So that's what I did.
MST says for now the prices at the pump aren't impacting how much they're spending on fuel.
20% of our heavy-duty large buses are powered by renewable electricity, and then the remainder is biofuel. So we're not necessarily using fossil fuel, and so those prices react a little bit differently to the current market, but prices are still going up, even in those areas.
And if you're still filling up, well,
good luck. That's all I gotta say.
In the Seattle metro area, gas prices are skyrocketing, with regular unleaded climbing above $6 a gallon at some stations this week. And with no end in sight to the war in Iran, there's growing concern this spike may not be over. King 5's Bridget Chavez stopped by one of the most expensive gas stations in Seattle.
$6.19, I'm not touching it.
At more than $6 a gallon in some places.
That's disgusting.
Sticker shock. And the trend is moving in the wrong direction. According to AAA, the Seattle Bellevue Everett Metro set a new record Wednesday, now averaging $5.74 a gallon, up from $5.51 a month ago and $4.47 a year ago.
I only really drive like once or twice a week now because of the gas, and that's only to like farther destinations.
For Lucius Turkle, that means parking his SUV.
In town, commuting every day, I need something a little bit more gas efficient, so I ride a little one-wheel around that uses no gas. So it's a little electric thing, but it gets me to class every day.
He says riding a one-wheel electric board to class saves him hundreds of dollars.
Kind of putting in that calculation of how much this thing costs and how much it costs to drive every day, it just makes so much more sense as a college student just to do this.
And he's not alone.
Around $40-50 to fill my tank, but now it's to empty, it's $80 to $90.
Matthew Hensley says he's turning to his e-bike more this summer.
We're only down to one car, and my wife also works, so can't even fathom having two cars to pay for gas.
And if prices keep rising, some say those changes in behavior may only accelerate.
I think people are just changing their habits, going to be changing, being more cognizant of using maybe not their vehicle and not going on that special trip.
As gas prices continue to rise in April, a car dealer said the demand for hybrid vehicles spiked. Here's King 5's Savannah Welch with more.
As soon as the gas prices went up, I was getting crazy calls, phone ringing off the hook.
Gas prices are climbing again across Washington, and for one Seattle car dealer, business is booming.
This one has an inverter and then your typical combustion engine.
Jason, owner of Auto Avia in Soto, says demand for hybrids has spiked in just a few weeks as drivers look for relief at the pump. That surge is also pushing prices higher, making it tougher to keep cars on the lot. Jason says he sources his vehicles from auctions, repair shops, and word of mouth, but now he's facing more competition than ever.
Dealer auctions, prices up for these cars have almost doubled. So if I'm sourcing them for twice as much, they're going to have to sell for a lot more as well, which I'm not looking forward to.
And it's not just what people are buying, it's how they're getting around.
I had multiple customers say before they bought a car, they sold their gas guzzler, and they've been just taking the bus or the train, the light rail. So when they come to pick up their car, I usually pick them up at the light rail station.
He says even if gas prices come down, he still expects strong demand to last through the summer.
If you're gonna make the switch, or you already have an older car, I would say, don't be afraid to do your own research, get second opinions, just fix your stuff. That is the most economical thing you can do right now.
And because demand is expected to stay high through the summer, some dealers say finding and affording fuel-efficient cars could get even tougher. So they say for now, the best move may be to just stick with what you have and keep it running well. In Seattle, Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
Gas prices aren't just hard on commuters. Business owners also face a harsh reality as they try to stay afloat. King 5's Jim Nelson spoke with the owner of a food truck who's looking for those long lines even more now.
Running a business
with the garlic parm
is hard.
Good choice. And then we'll bring you when that's ready.
Okay. Running one that runs on gas can be even harder.
Oh, it's brutal. Like even when I go to get my own gas, because I live, over in Milton, and what used to be $40 for, half a tank of gas is now $60. Like, that's insane.
That's the harsh reality for the folks who run Impeccable Chicken. That's with a K, by the way.
Chicken's pecking, yeah. Clever. Play on words.
Guess you gotta keep it light when the costs are getting heavier by the day.
It's kind of like watching a car wreck in slow motion. You're just like watching the numbers go up and up and up, and you're like, wow, like that's a big expense.
Adam Mattern works for Impeccable Chicken, part of a local company that has 8 food trucks throughout the area. It helps that they travel short distances, but those generators run all day.
Probably spending like $150 to $180 each time, and that's filling the generators completely and then giving a little bit of gas to the truck. Like out of 8 trucks, that adds up pretty quick.
So obviously the conflict in the Middle East is what's really driving prices. However, AAA says that it's just that time of year where there's more demand. People are taking trips, and that's also driving gas prices up. Either way, I think everyone's ready for those numbers to start coming down, but experts say with so much uncertainty, we can continue to expect volatility.
Which is why they love to see long lines.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, it just shows that there's a good following, people really enjoy the food. We love making the food.
Certainly a nice boost.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
When some businesses are running on empty. In Seattle, Jim Nelson, King 5 News.
And thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Copeland.